One thing I've learned, if you don't hold their feet to the fire, everybody gets burned.
Hold on. Before you start waving around that freedom of speech thing, when you're in a crowded movie theater and you scream fire, you better be able to smell smoke. If you come on this radio show and you start saying incandescent things like that, you better have more behind you, pal, than just your thumb. I've been listening to talk radio for years, and one thing I just can't stand is when the host has to, push his way on the people, beat the callers into his way of thinking, extending his ego, or when the callers call in and say something so outrageous and the host lets it go unchallenged. The sign you're on the road to truth is the lack of contradiction. You want to find truth, you just don't simply believe somebody because of their authority or their degree, or you listen to what they say, you test it against reality, and you hold their feet to the fire. Right, we are back, and we are live. Feet to the fire. I am James Off the Yanchik, the Black Knight of Talk Radio, into year 19. Feet to the Fire Radio, January 2004. Yeah, wow. Well, here we go. I missed last week. I want to say there's a lot of pressure and problems going on. Now, I'm thankful, very thankful, that a lot of other stuff that could be aren't. And my prayer is, thank you, Lord, for your protection and guidance. And yet, things do happen and causing troubles. So, it seems that Sunday is the day for the troubles, probably because I'm going to do this show. I mean, I don't want to be self-important here and say that, the devil is out to get me, but the devil's out to get all people of goodwill, and evil is on the rise, and a big wave of it is covering the country at the moment. It's released, We've been talking over the, weeks, actually years, but over these weeks about how this is the time of the revealing, the time of the choosing, and then the time of the it's kind of a blends. It's both personal and then corporal, and so it kind of blends into the results, the judgment, or the results of your choice, the fruit, if you will, of your choice, the harvesting. So this is what we're in, and what we have been in, I think, since the Trump, the whole election thing. For the tally books, being a Trump supporter meant that I supported Trump over the other candidates, and that I think he was being used by God to reveal all of the unbelievable corruption in the media and the government and the world, for the whole world, everywhere, as well as other individuals. But being the president kind of gives you a big, kind of a big magnifying glass to really bring it out. And those attacking him revealed themselves, including up until even now to the impeachment that has been acquitted. It is so obvious now that I haven't actually talked to any friends who are politically liberal or Democratic, because we basically, the ones that I still have, that I talk to, and they talk to me, basically we do that because we don't bring it up, because I'm not interested. You're ideologically walled, and there's no chance. It's but I would like to wonder if I could peek through that wall and say, look, you really, really, you see what's going on? But anyway, we are in the revealing now. I did leave at the description below, I did leave a quote from Wikipedia. It's a convenient quote. It's not authoritative. Wikipedia's not authoritative. It's convenient, and I think this quote is accurate. So, but the word apocalypse, which we hear a lot about, is not kind of what it thinks. Apocalypse, like, it's the end of the world, the apocalypse. No, not what it is. Now, the apocalypse, I think, leads into some dramatic times, and thus that could be blamed on the word or included in the word. But the word apocalypse is basically two Greek words, apoko and kalopolis, which would be like, like eclipse, is another variant of the word. But it means to off, apo, off, and then cover. So eclipse, the word eclipse, it covers. So basically you're looking at off of the cover, or an uncovering if you want to make it a little more palatable in English. And thus some versions of the Bible have the Apocalypse of St. John as opposed to the Revelation, or the Revelation of St. John, or John's Revelation, however. And they're interchangeable. Apocalypse is a Greek word, Revelation would be English word. So it's the revealing. We are in the revealing. So if people want to say, when is the apocalypse coming? It's here. It's here. It's been here for years. It's been working for years, even longer, but it's the way that I have understood Revelations is as things happen, it gets faster and faster. So we're going through this. So it's a disclosure or revelation of great knowledge. This is the, let's say the nice big flowery kind of scholarly way to say it. Revealing great knowledge and revisit in religious concepts, an apocalypse usually discovers something very important that is hidden or provides what Bart Ehrman, which I've read several of his books, is a good book to read, good guy to read to learn about textual criticism in terms of technical stuff, but he's kind of lost the faith along the way. We keep that in mind, but his actual criticism is very good. I mean, referring to translations and whatnot. His way, he defines it as a vision of heavenly secrets that can make sense of earthly realities. Now, how I would do it, not being a religious scholar of any type, but being somebody who is really wants to come up with an understanding to work with in the world, as I myself have to deal with life and spirituality and God, and hey, have to answer to God. I want to be able to have, I don't want to go like, well, I don't know, I thought it was this. I don't know. It doesn't mean you have to be right. It just means you have to be kind of serious about how you've made decisions, I think, And so how I kind of look at it as the revelation or apocalypse is that if you look at, let's say, a multifaceted diamond, now we know that those diamonds are cut to be all symmetrical and everything. Otherwise, that's why they're beautiful or whatever. But the idea being is that you can't really see the other sides, but you can create a pretty reliable picture by seeing a certain amount of the diamond. Now, we don't, even though it looks all nice and even, maybe on the other side it's cut different. You don't know until you see it, right? And so as I look at the revealing of things is that we have gone along, and the diamond has been out there, laying out in reality, and we have been shown parts of it. And when I mean shown, a lot of it has to be that parts are covered up by other people, the occult covering, the hidden, I should say. So they're certain parts of it have been covered, hidden, and have been messed with or manipulated, molested, really. So that what we see is a distorted view of the diamond. So the revealing of the reality of the diamond will show you the actual real shape. And those things that have been hidden, in other words, to quote, I think it was it Matthew or Luke? No, I should have done it. See, when I do this, I do have a thing open here. I'm not going to do this. It's not going to work. I'm going to quickly. I'm going to read because I like to read it. I'm good at paraphrasing it. Well, I'll just throw this up. There's Luke. But nothing. There is nothing that's covered that will not be revealed, and hidden that will not be known. That's not what I looked for, but it's saying the same thing. So the point I'm looking at here is that this is the time of this uncovering. That and it's interesting how if you look through the New Testament, Jesus' words, I praise you, Father, Lord of heaven, that you have hidden these things from the wise and intelligent and revealed them to infants. You could see that God has been doing some hiding himself and revealing. So we have a time, and what I'm talking about in the time of revealing is we have a perceived reality, which is a delusion or illusion, depending how you want to phrase it. And now we're being reconciled with the reality of it. This is the ultimate cognitive dissonance as the reality is revealed. Some of the reality is going to be majorly different than what people thought. Others will be right on, and a myriad in the mix between the two polar. So this is what's going on now. This is why the tumult is, because things that have been believed are not true, and thus people who believe in them are very upset because they're depending upon how important that belief was and how deep it was to their actual being. They're having their guts ripped out, and they have to continue to function. And others have purposely hidden this stuff and are trying to keep it hidden, and their little tyrannies are being exposed. The emperor's clothes, etc., are being exposed, and they don't want that. There's also a tumult as they try to continue to keep the cover on. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. So you have several different tumults coming from the same thing. This is why when you hear the preaching, it says don't lie and cheat and steal and all that. If you stay real, to put it in one word, you don't have anything to reconcile when the reality appears. This is what reality is appearing now. This is the revealing. This is the apocalypse. This is the time of the revealing, the time of the choice. Now it's being revealed to you. Now you make a choice. Do you continue to hold on to the delusion or illusion or your power structures? Do you continue to hold on and fight more and more and more, cause more of a cognitive dissonance as more is revealed to make that breach even farther or harder? It's like stretching a rubber band and having it snap, and you release yourself from the reality, insanity, or it snaps back in and you crash into reality are your options if you try to hold on to the delusion. So as things are being revealed to you personally and corporately, you must choose reality. And reality is not that hard to figure out, even in the midst of a lot of BS, is because there's two things that you can use for this. And I should say, this is what I do, okay? I'm not telling you what to do, but this is what I do. There's two things that kind of keep the reality. One, consistency, lack of contradiction, to use my phrase I've been using for many years. And two, how it fits into the teachings and principles of Jesus. Now, if you don't accept Jesus, he's just not there and all that stuff you got to, well, okay, fine. You at least have the consistency. I think the Jesus whole purpose in his teachings is exactly to bring to seal the breach between God and man, reality and delusion, and expose the power structures so that you can have the proper power structure by following the principles of Jesus. And Jesus came and taught during the time of the Pharisees, who had their own delusion and illusion, their own tyranny. Not only Rome, but even in the Pharisees, in the church. Well, the quote church of the time. So he exposed a lot of that stuff, using their own words, using the truths that he found in the scriptures and in their teachings to overturn their own teachings by their own logic, by consistency. Well, it's okay to do this, but not do this, but they're the same thing, So Jesus really, he said, he brings, I'm going to quote just from what I remember rather than try to find the verse because it'll just waste time. But I don't bring peace, but I bring a sword between a father and a son and a mother and a daughter and, and so forth. Because there's going to be, in those relationships, people are going to cling to reality, or they're going to seek reality, and others are going to cling to delusion as this apocalypse wave comes in. And you notice the little cover art I did, Surfing the Apocalypse, I thought was a pretty good phrase because you have to kind of hang loose on the wave while surfing it, using the energy in the wave and kind of hang along with it. And I kind of thought that was good because it's you have to kind of just ride with it. Again, being guided, there's energy along the way, but your goal is being real. And unlike the term being real, there was a message base. I don't know, it still could exist for all I know. It was called Surfing the Apocalypse back in the early days, where they were far from real. Their whole gig, as well as other ones like God-like Productions and Rumor Mill News, was to basically create narratives and see if they could make it fly. A lot of them were, odd stuff, time travel and jump from to Mars and all this stuff, which is where Art Bell and others fit in. And little did they know, perhaps, that they would actually become the mainstream media because it's exactly what's going on. We have a reality, a narrative being weaved and pushed as real, as truth, and it's not. So as this wave of the apocalypse rolls in, it's disrupting these things, and it causes great tumult. And those who have power, they like it. And in the delusion of those in power think that, hey, we won. We stole this, stole the election. You changed the votes and all this stuff. We did this stuff. We won. We're going to write, 500 EOs to executive orders to change everything. We're going to a majority in the House and Senate to pass laws. We're going to change it all. We won. They're drunken in their wine of iniquity, as the narrative in Ten Commandments, my favorite movie, the old movie, and they're reveling in it. They won. They got it. Now, they were a little mad because they wanted to get Trump, but there's other plans to get him and stop him from not running again. So, it's not over with. So, they've won. Now, that is, God allows them to sink deeper into their delusion because they're not seeking reality or God or righteousness or anything like that. So he just allows them. He's not pushing them. He's not making them. He's not deluding them. They're deluding themselves, and he just allows it to happen. In fact, put this piece in there. What I have found in my rebuilding of my whole consciousness and understanding of God and creation, which I've been working on since, I don't know, was it late 90s, is that God really doesn't have to do much in terms of altering space-time because it's all arranged. The great clockwork of the universe, spiritually and physically, is all worked so that it's kind of automatic that the individuals will grow spiritually positive toward understanding of God, regardless of what happens in the world. And those will become more corrupt and farther from the knowledge of God who choose evil, regardless of how nice it may seem they have. It's like you can't lose. You have to choose. Do you want to grow into evil or do you want to grow into good? And then you follow the principles toward those ends, and the universe just, will go with it. And if you choose good, of course, you're going to have this conflict with those choosing evil. And it's the illusion that they have the upper hand. Yeah, they got the bombs and the guns and the whatever, the laws are being bent and judges. Yeah, they have that. And so they think they win. But because, and in the short term, they can have victories and cause great discomfort amongst people who are seeking righteousness. To use the old phrase, it may sound a little old-fashioned, but I like it. There's a short-term victory. But what is coming along this way with the apocalypse, the choosing, is the reaping. And it's not that far away. I mean, I'm not going to predict a day or a time. And again, there's always that point of repentance, and in a physical sense, legal or physical, like the military or something, where they could take over and stay evil for a period. It's happened many times. The only thing that's different now is because of the worldwide scope and the technology, which was never here before. It's almost magic what they can do in terms of spying and the weaponry and controlling and manipulating. You have the ability now to change the DNA sequencing and so on. So there's a lot there that was never there throughout history, not even close, which is why I put this on my short list of being the final latter-day cycle that will continue complete. And so what I'm trying to do myself, and I'm having things happening that are very, that's another thing. I don't want to go into, I don't want to say things that are happening and say, oh, pray for me. I want you to pray for me, as I pray in general for people that I can about the spiritual battles going on. I don't want to articulate them. It's not because I'm embarrassed or shy, or some of it is because it has to do with other people. I don't want to bring their names into things, but I don't like to articulate vocally, let alone broadcast it and have it saved and, and played around the world, because I think that evil, of course, is not omnipotent. And so therefore I think that if you articulate it loudly and in great lengths, it gives them kind of a feedback loop of what they're doing. So they're like, oh, I didn't know this is really bothering them that much. Because there's the way I think it works on the evil side is that, of course, evil being not omnipotent, you actually have beings doing jobs, if you will, but they're multitasking, and they don't necessarily sit there and devote their time to you. You're not that important. But they may have a specialty or may have a thing, and you might walk into a realm of one of the demons or whatever, however the hierarchy is. You walk into their territory, and then there's some harassment that happens. And then you walk out of their territory, and they're on to harassing someone else. So it's not necessarily personal. It's that you are a light bearer. You are, meaning that you seek. I shouldn't say light bearer. That's a loaded word. You are a child of the light of God, and you're seeking truth and therefore you're riding the wave. You're surfing the apocalypse. Literally, what a great! It's a great. Just dawned on me. What a great phrase. You're surfing the apocalypse as it unveils, and not being sucked in and under the wave. And this is where I think we need to be right now. One thing that is happening, we have a sick cat. We're trying to help it. To go through the whole rigmarole for tests would be, thousands of dollars, which you don't have. I'm trying to work with holistic stuff and supplements and whatnot with the cat. And I would ask for prayers for the cat, whose name is Lucy. Of course, even then, now that it could bring light to it, and somebody might, the demons may decide to put a little pressure on that. But anyway, this is one of the things that it's been working on. There's been many other ones that have been causing great strife. And then there's tangible issues to that and so forth. And the weather, of course, a lot of problems with that, though I had to be thankful because I've gotten through the weather so far. Dry, I drive for a living, as many know. And got through that. And it was supposed to be colder and worse, and it wasn't. I'm not going to, again, maybe in the spring I'll tell you about how I think things happen in the winter. But again, I don't want this information to get out to evil areas. I mean, there's people out there, it was obviously seen with Trump where you had all these witches were hexing him and whatnot, getting together. There's people out there who do that kind of stuff where they will actually, they're stupid, they're deluded, but they will invoke evil. At Kelvin in the chat room. Hi, Kelvin. And it's not that God is not overpowerful. See, this is the thing I had to repiece through all the years of me kind of redoing my Christian consciousness and understanding. It's not that you just say, by the name of Jesus, and it goes away. Yes, but if you recall when the disciples said to Jesus, well, we tried, and this demon wouldn't go away, whatever. And Jesus did it. He says, well, this one needs prayer and fasting. There are certain, I guess, rights or grants or graces or whatever given in power that have certain rights. Now, as a Christian, you can't be possessed because we have, God, the Holy Spirit, the Helper, working from the backside, coming out, right? But you could be harassed, I think. And God allows a certain amount of harassment for the edification, as they use the religious word. You'll grow, you'll learn, you'll be chastised for things that are wrong. God allows bad things to happen for good reasons. And, when we see it all in the end, we'll understand and we'll be marveled by it. But it's tough when you're in it to sit and go oh, this is a bad thing happened to me. Now let me find out where the silver lining is. Let me find out what I'm supposed to learn from this so that I can move on and past it. But that's literally the answer. The one thing that I have been really working with, rather than praying to God to help me get through the day and stuff, I just had this kind of change of a heart idea. It was like, instead of saying, Lord, please help me, of course He's going to help you, right? God knows what you need before you know it. He's known it when He created the universe. He knew you, all right? That's how far in advance. And the whole universe has been created to your benefit as well as everyone else in it. And you go, hey, that's impossible. No, it's God, right? This is when you get into infinity and you get into omnipotent and omnipotent and all this stuff. This is what this means. What I'm doing is it's more helping me than actually getting God to do more, is thanking God for Him getting me through the day at the beginning of the day and throughout the day, as I notice things that happened that could have been bad or what have you. And of course I won't notice a lot of things that could have happened either. But by the clockwork mechanism planning of the universe, they avoided me. Well, wait a minute. There's somebody listening now go, wait a minute, how come I got hit in a car the other day? I don't know the answer. Okay, I don't know. Here's an example of what I came up with years ago that I think it might help in that scenario. I've avoided many accidents inexplicably. Like I'm driving along, all of a sudden, I amazingly look to the right for no reason at all, right? And there's a car out of my peripheral view coming very fast. And because of that time frame, I was able to stop the truck in time and avoid, killing him and getting in an accident. Even though it would be his fault, I don't, it's like, well, it was his fault. He died anyway. No, I don't want to kill anybody. Plus, I could get hurt in it too, the truck. And so there you go. That's a thanks. Well, one time I was in a mall. I was delivering. I came out, getting ready to leave. I had to park in the spot where the trucks are allowed to go walk into the mall, not out in front of one of the regular mall doors. And a person pulled up behind me, very close to me. So when I looked out the mirrors, any truck driver out there, Calvin, you know this, when you look out in the mirrors, people can come close enough to you that you can't see them in the mirror because the way the parallel X or whatever it is works, they're pulled up too close, can't see them. So I get up and I start to back up the truck and I back into him. And he backed up to me, so I hit his back. No, I'm driving. I've learned this from years of driving. I start very slow. But, of course, slow and weighing, many tons gives that inertia so that when you go very slow and you hit something, you just keep going, right? Because you have that weight, that mass moving. So when, so I hit him, but I was going slow and everything. So I got out and talked and looked, it was just a little dent. And I'm like, I don't want to get the company, this and that. He goes, well, I'll look into it. Here, let me give you your number. I gave him my number. I gave his number. He said, I'll look into how much it costs and so on. But at the same time, I was planning on buying a guitar amp for recording original music. But I'm thinking, I don't know how much it's going to cost. I'm not going to be able to buy this. And I didn't know if I was going to buy it or whatever. And so I just, I have to pay for this. The guy called me. He says, I went and got it fixed. I went and got the reports, and I said, they want something like $600 for it. I thought that was ridiculous. So I got a little, from the dealer, to give you a little paint jar that matches your car. It was just a scratch, but they had to take the drawer off to paint it and all this other stuff, and it caused a lot of, because I think that's ridiculous. I got a little bottle of paint to paint it so it doesn't rust and all that, and, that's fine. I said, you want to give me like $20 for the paint? That'll be fine. So I sent him a check for $20, and that was the end of it. So, I was thinking, like, why would I know that this other car is coming down the street, but I can't even see it? Why do I get that information? But I back into this guy, and I had no clue. And it wasn't, I'm thinking, like, I wasn't, like, not paying attention. I wasn't doing something wrong. Why did this happen? Well, after all this got done, it kind of looked like gave him a chance to be a nice guy. And so he goes, that's all right. I'll just give me $20 for the paint and I'll take care of it. He could have got a new paint job. He could have, like, his back could have hurt him or all this other stuff, right? But he didn't. He had a chance, and he had the choice to do the right thing, a nice thing to be nice to somebody and reasonable. And so I thought, and then plus now I didn't have that money to spend on the repairs, so I ended up buying the guitar amp, which is still sitting over there. So I looked at it, I go, see, that's kind of how it could work. Now, I don't know if this is absolutely true, but it made sense to me that sometimes bad things happen to allow for other people. Especially when you're a Christian, you kind of when you sign on the line, so to speak, and say, yeah, I want to follow Jesus. You're kind of like giving God more free hand in your life and using you for his purposes. Now, perhaps his purpose was to have this guy make a choice, do a thing. And, of course, it did good to me because I got to see somebody do a nice thing for a change, which is very rare. And, so anyway, you can make it gets even worse. Like, somebody gets, I just heard of in my extended family, person got in a head head-on car accident. The other person was 4 times over the limit of drinking, suspended license for drunk driving. Drives over in the other lane, hits them head-on, destroys the truck. But the person is the airbag did some damage to him, a little whiplash and stuff, but okay. No, I'm thinking thank God the person's okay. But on the other hand, why did it happen? Now he's going to be off a couple weeks for rehab and checking and stuff. That's going to affect money coming in. I think I understand the job is going to give him some money for being off, but you see that happen, you go, why? Why does that stuff happen? Well, I don't know. But you can look at it, and say, like, it could have been killed, he could have been maimed, he could have been lost, it could have been a lot of other things could happen from this choice this other guy made. Now, this guy's going to be in jail, he's going to go to prison, no doubt. And so it turns out he had pretty good insurance. He had the umbrella policy, which is, so he'll be able to replace the car, and he kind of, so it worked out. It's just that, why did it have to happen? I don't know. I don't know. I just pray for protection, and I pray for the best, highest good for all things involved. And, eventually we'll be out of here, and I ain't never coming back. Give me a little shack somewhere in the edge of heaven, and it's fine. So, this is what we're in a time now where it's going to get worse, more evil, more blatant, more obvious. People will be persecuted by the government, by evil, and it could get really, really bad. And if you want to listen to Jesus talk, which, probably why a lot of times, lost the quote now. I had it up here for a purpose. Here we go. That's why I think a lot of times the preachers don't want to talk about what Jesus says. Like Paul. Paul's better. Here's some rules, here's some stuff. But Jesus gets into stuff like, for there will be a great tribulation such as never occurred since the beginning of the world until now, and so never will again. And if those days had not been cut short, no life would have been saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short. Oh, okay, thanks. And he says in there too, he says, and be forewarned. Don't be fooled, be forewarned, I'm telling you. So this is what I think we should be focusing on, not getting worried and nervous, because there's nothing you can do about it. You can't go and turn back the time. You can't stand up and write a post just right that is just everybody then just shares it, and all of a sudden all the people, yeah, you're right, let's do all the right thing. It's not going to happen. If Jesus couldn't do it, you're not going to be able to do it. So, and you're going to do stuff wrong in your life. You're going to make wrong choices. You're going to do things, and you're going to have suffering from it. Others are going to suffer from it. The best thing to do, I think, from it is try to learn from it and do the best you can moving forward. And if the person is hurt by you, the same thing goes to them. Because you can't go back in time. You can go forward. If you go forward with hate and malice of what happened, you're going to ruin the rest of your life. You're already going to have trouble from whatever happened to you. Say you got injured or something. You got trouble, that's maybe what's going to follow you the rest of your life. You already got that. So being bitter about it and mean and so forth, all you're going to do is make the rest of your life worse. Now, I can understand somebody getting so just worn out by the whole trauma thing that they just kind of lose like their zest for life. They can be believers, they can understand all this stuff. They're not bad people, they don't think, but they're just worn out. They just kind of drift through life. And I'm not going to judge them. I may end up being one of them. I've had my days. But I'm not going to judge them because, again, hey, all of us are sinners. And if once we really understand the gravity of that statement, then it kind of takes away any haughtiness. You got the old Pharisees with their robes and whatnot, walking around doing all this stuff. Jesus talking about. Same thing happens with modern day churches. And they put up a $10 million church. And that money could have been better used. You could have had yourself tents, or you could use a building that was being not going to be used. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like we have to make sure that we don't do things to our own glory as opposed to God's glory. What can I do? The highest, best good for all those involved, including myself. That's how I kind of phrase it. So when I'm in a situation, and of course, when I say this, it sounds like I'm doing this all the time. I'm just sitting back relaxing. No, I'm constantly screwing up. But it's like there's a phrase. I mentioned this. I was going to look it up. I'm sure it's in the Bible. It's a good phrase. Though a man falls 7 times, the righteous man will get up an 8th. This is what you got to keep doing. You got to just keep going. You learn, you confess, you apologize, you try to recompense as best you can, and you move forward. No guilt, regret, learning, wisdom, understanding, and keep going forward. The guilty person is the one who's not doing that and still doing wrong, or did wrong and hit it, or harm somebody. That's where guilt comes in. Guilt comes in when you don't bring it up, deal with it, and realize that we're all sinners and we all have to move on. So it's very important, I think, at this time, we have to surf the apocalypse, not try to drive through it, not try to suppress it, not try to run away from it. I keep thinking of these waves as they come in, and the people who don't get crashed by the waves are the ones who surf the wave, not try to drive through it. I've seen videos where the boat's trying to run. Well, of course, I know they have to try and ride over the wave. They can't surf the wave. I understand that. But they tried to go through the wave, and it cracked the boat in half. Other people trying to outrun the wave get smashed by it. And again, metaphors have their limits, but as the apocalypse wave comes, we need to surf it and hang loose. Do the right thing. When something comes up that's been exposed, you got to change, or some problem, you got to address it. You can confess it to God and say, look, this is wrong. I need help. What can I do? Show me what I could do. And you'll find things pop in your life giving you clues. But you got to be open to that. You got to kind of open up and go, okay, you're going to expect the clues to come. Okay, I'm looking left, I'm looking right, I'm looking over here, I'm looking over there. Okay, any moment now, a clue's going to pop up to answer my prayer question to God what to do. And I find that a lot of times that the clues are kind of like highlighted very subtly. It's not like, bells and whistles, though I've had some clues come up with, blaring horns of obviousness. My prayer to God is that I am a stonehead, so please, I give you permission to break my leg as you get my attention, but I'm also banking on that you're pretty clever, that you don't have to, but you can. And I think if we're open to God like that, He can work much more in our lives to guide us through these problems. And right now, if this is the latter days and these words do mean what they say, it's going to get kind of tough. We're going to need each other's help, and we're going to need to look at the greater picture of what's to come. I mean, what would it be worth for you to suffer, in these times of the tumult of the apocalypse, to be able to be alive in your own skin, with your own eyes, seeing those skies open up like a scroll and see the sign of the Son of Man as lightning from the west coming to the east, east going to west, whatever it was. What kind of trouble would that be worth to see that? To be unique in time and space to have the physical veil pierced by the heavens. That has got to be the most incredible thing to see out of anything you could possibly imagine. Unicorns and fairies and all that stuff, forget it. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I would love to be alive to see that. I don't know when it'll come. I don't know if I'll see it, but I would like to see it. I'd really like to enjoy it to see that. And you don't have to be perfect. You just got to keep updating your righteousness check with God. You got to just kind of keep it in, kind of keep it going. You know, you can't get laxed, and you can't say, "Well, I'm a Baptist" or whatever. And you can't rely on some statistics. Well, I'm a preacher. I got this degree here. I did this here. That's not it. It's the living, loving actions in world, especially during these times, that are important. So you're going to have to hang loose, my friend. Got to hang loose as we surf the apocalypse. Oh, there was one thing I wanted to mention. I'll put this link in the... I got this invite to a page. I don't think... I see it now. It's in this side. I don't know if this is private. I don't think so. Oh, I would like to ask people's help if you have some spare money to send. You know, I mean, $10 is great. You know, a lot of people said $10 would be great. There is a coworker of mine, a truck driver that I've known for several years, who is going to get a heart transplant. He's in the final stages. He's got it all. He's been all the workup. He's got the whole thing, and he's all ready. But it's going to be extremely. He does have some insurance to cover it. It's going to be extremely expensive. And he has a fundraiser on Facebook. And so I would like people, if they can, if you have a couple of bucks to send. I don't know how they work at Facebook. I don't know if it's going to be an offensive system of, you know, they're going to want information about you. I don't know about that. If somebody is really interested in passing on a little help, doesn't want to get through Facebook, I will be more than happy to get a mailing address or something for it. So, you know, just email me my Beat Through the Fire Radio at protonmail.com, or send me a message in Gab or at Facebook, and I will put you in touch. But I didn't know this. When you have a heart transplant, the average heart transplant is $3 to $4 million. And what is this happened now? Did I do this? What happened in the chat room? Oh, okay. So my cousin is actually does these complex claims, and she says she's seen 8 heart transplants that have an actual claim of $8 million. I never knew I knew they were expensive, obviously, but even with good coverage, if he has, they're still going to be expensive. So Mark is a real good guy. Mark is one of those guys. He's a man's man, alpha male, nice guy. He'll help you, a stranger. He'll help you if you're being harmed by somebody's, taking advantage of you. He'll just, step in and help you. Doesn't even know who you are. And if you're a family member, he'll tear off his arm. And in fact, his ex-wife will tell you. Okay, so there you go. When your ex-wife well, let's say you're a good guy. You know, maybe it didn't work out as a husband, but in wife team, you know, for whatever reason. And if you're, you know, and if you're a friend or something, you can call. You know, he's the guy who just drops everything and helps you. You know, it's not even like, oh darn, I'm kind of busy. Oh, okay, I'll help you. It's just like it's nothing. And those guys are rare. And he's in his 50s. He's pretty young to be having his heart stuff go on. And I would really like to see him, what he can give to the world by being a person of like that for many years to come. And so if you can help him out with this, I would appreciate. Keep in prayer. It's just about ready to go in. It's right, going in. He's going to go in and get prepared. And I didn't know how this all works out, but you pretty much go in, you get a heart pump catheter, you get all this stuff, and you pretty much wait in the hospital until there's a heart. And it, I mean, they got the whole world as your, you know, they'll fly it in from wherever if it matches. So, I mean, you see the TV shows where they're like waiting at home and getting, you know, I guess with a heart, it's a little different. I know guys with kidney transplants, and they literally got the phone call and had to come in. But maybe heart is the biggest thing, and therefore it has to do it. So he's a real good guy. I mean, you know, if he was a jerk, it'd still be nice to help him. But it's easier to try and want to help somebody when they're a nice guy. So let me close with that. And a quick prayer. Lord, Mark needs your guidance of the doctors and so forth. I know you have the universe all lined up for all of us to work out. It's just that we all were praying for that to work out. So in Jesus' name we ask, amen. So we'll just leave it at that, and we will see you next time. Remember to surf. Got to surf the apocalypse, otherwise you're going to go under.
Feet to Fire is a production of IPS Media Works on the OnSync Radio network of stations.